from Dr. Darnise's House of Religion, Magic, and Conjure. This is the season, 'tis the season that I call Merry New Year, the week between Christmas and New Year 2020. And so it's a Merry New Year season. And I hope everybody's doing well. Um, so listen, I did the class, I did the race, religion, in America class. And so if you were still wanting that class, you can access the replay. You still have to pay the tuition for that class, but you can access the replay in case you're like, oh, I missed it and I really wanted to get it. So I offered that class because some people said they wanted it, and I don't know who all from YouTube was there, but in any case, you can get that. Next up, the next class that is coming your way is the Meaningful Manifestations class, and that'll begin in January. Um, Not January 1, but in January. So, again, if you're interested in the Meaningful Manifestations class that's coming up, put in the comments that you want information about that, and I will make another video for that. So hit the notification bell so you know when I make another video, and you'll be able to keep up with that, with my class schedule and all like that. So, well, what I want to talk about today is um, maybe I'll call this installment one of Black people in the New Age, the so-called New Age movement. And as our case study, we will look at the movie Soul. So, have you seen the animated film Soul on Disney Plus? If not, I highly suggest you go and watch it. There may be some spoilers here, but I don't really think so, because it's really not that kind of movie where there's really suspense. So, I'll try to be mindful of that as I talk about it. I don't plan to really focus on it that specifically, but it's a great animated film about a jazz musician who has a sort of afterlife slash before life experience. Jamie Foxx is doing the voiceover for the character Joe in the film. It's a really, really good film. Um, but I want to talk more broadly about Black people in the so-called New Age, and then have that be our focal point, because um, there's so many things I want to say. Black people are not a monolith. Okay, what does that mean? It means we don't all think alike. We don't all have the same religion. We don't all do any one thing, right? So that means we're not a monolith. We are diverse. Among Black people, we are diverse, okay? So some of us do this, some of us are Christians, some of us practice, so-called pagan rituals and Wicca and witchcraft and African religions. Some of us are Catholic, some of us, are in the so-called New Age. And the things that get put in this box called New Age are things like, reading tarot, following astrology, um, following any of the channelers, or believing that there's such a thing as channeling, to channel an entity, to be a psychic, to be a medium, meaning that you see spirits. You remember the movie, what was it? Not Ghost, but Ghost is another one. What's with the little boy who said, I see dead people? What's the name of it? Oh, The Sixth Sense. Wasn't that the name? Yeah, The Sixth Sense. And so, for many Black people, it's like, for Black Americans anyway, it's like if Black people talk about being involved in these kinds of practices, that we somehow lose our Black card. We lose our authenticity as Black people because we participate in these type of practices or rituals. So first of all, I say the so-called New Age because these things are not new, right? These practices are ancient, for one thing. Secondly, it's such a broad category that it almost means nothing to say the New Age, right? Like, what is the New Age? It's not a religion. It's not a cult. It's not any one thing. There's no leader. There's no building. There's no institution called the New Age. It's really just sort of a loose term applied to various non-traditional kind of spiritual practices. And in this day and age, when so many people say they're spiritual but not religious, I would think that would be okay. But some people tend to say, okay, well, the new age, it's full of, the occult or whatever. And I'm going someplace here. So if you just bear with me, we can get back to talking about soul and the reason for this video. I'm just feeling a bit like I need to make this is a teaching moment. So there are black people who've been involved in the new age forever, right? I have some videos here about people who, Pamela Coleman Smith and the tarot, and Paschal Beverly Randolph, Abdullah, different people, black people who are and were psychics or healers, somehow spiritual practitioners, right? Reiki. This is not the white people, European people don't own those practices. White people don't own those practices. So when black people come along and we're also participating in these very ancient practices, it should not put our blackness into question. And frankly, a lot of these things come out of Africa. They come out of North Africa. They come out of Egypt. They come out of Kemet. They come out of that whole Nile Valley civilization. Divination, reading cards for divination, or throwing cowrie shells, reading the entrails of animals, any kind of things that watching the stars, astrology / astronomy. These things are not foreign to African people, and yet because of the colonization that we've suffered here in the U.S. in particular, we tend to think only Christian or only institutional religion matters. Even though a lot of us are saying, I don't want institutional religion, but that thing over there is still scary. Okay, so here's where I'm going. So the movie Soul is great, as I said, animated film by Disney Plus. And it's worth it. I will say, for those of you who don't have Disney Plus and you're like, I don't want to spend money on that, do the free trial. Okay, do a free trial and watch Soul and watch Black is King by Beyonce, watch Hamilton, watch whatever you want to watch on there. Get your money's worth. The free. It's free, right? You may decide to keep it for 1 month. I think it's what, $6.99. It might be $6.99, $7.99 for 1 month. Knock yourself out. There's some decent programming on there, and these things in particular. So, don't make it where $6.99 keeps you from participating in some things, right? Anyway, so people are talking about soul as, well, why does the black man have to be in the body of a cat? Why is a white woman saving the black man? Why do we have to have the magical Negro trope? I just want to say there's so much in that movie. There's so much that is about the expansion of spiritual consciousness. That film is reflective of our spiritual awakening that's happening right now. Y'all know I did that whole live talking about the age of Aquarius and how we're going to see much more expansion that reflects our spiritual awakening. It means we're going to have to grow beyond, well, there's my book, Beyond Christianity, right? Grow beyond narrow constructs of what religion and spirituality have to look like. Grow beyond the things that we think of as so hard and fast. Grow beyond skin color or physical form. So in that movie, as I said, the character Joe is having this, sort of between life experience. A spiritual experience is what he's having, right? And he is a jazz musician who's just about to have this great experience that he's been wanting to play with his band forever, and then something happens to him and he finds himself in sort of a non-physical state. We might say heaven, if you want to give it a word. And he pairs up with this entity a little blue ball, and the voiceover is from Tina Fey, the actress Tina Fey. You might know her from that show she did, 30 Rock. So a white comedic actress and writer. And so people are mad. Black people are mad. Black people are like, oh, I like it, but why has it got to be a white woman? And so I think people are missing the metaphysics. People are missing the spiritual message in this film, because the film is helping us understand that physical form is malleable and changeable. We're more than our physical bodies. Because when Joe was having this experience, he's not in a body. Neither is she. Her name is 22 in the film. She's not in a body. But Black people are critiquing this and saying, why does it have to be a white woman? Which means we as human beings are not understanding what we're seeing. We're talking about being not physical. So she's actually blue. But, you know, in the film he says, oh, why do you sound like a middle-aged white woman? And she shifts form and says, well, I don't have to be this. I just take on this voice. But I could be this. And she shifts form, she shifts form, she shifts form. I could show up like this, I could show up like this, I could show up like this. Boom, spiritual teaching right there. We are not our physical bodies. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we take on a physical form. If you're familiar with the Bible, what are we told about the Christ or Jesus? The Word took on flesh, right? Spirit takes on flesh. And so we're seeing a movie that is dropping that into our consciousness so that we can grow. This is the time. We're moving into the fourth density. We're moving out of a third density, very dense, meaning lacking light. We're moving out of that kind of experience into a fourth density, higher vibrational space. I can't think another word. That's why I say space. Realm. Quantum reality. We're moving, we're growing. And one way you know that we're moving is because we can even have a film like that. When our consciousness is ready, we can have a film like that. When our consciousness can't even grasp it, it's very hard to even have a film like that get made because people won't understand it. Right? So it's like in science fiction where we've had all kinds of stories about things in science fiction, and people can accept things in a fictional way, in a cartoon, in a, you know, sort of extravagant science fiction kind of storyline, because it allows us to receive it and go and at least contemplate it. So in the movie Soul, we're given an opportunity to contemplate how malleable our physical form is and how we can change it at whim, because we are not, in fact, matter. We are energy in motion. We are vibration. We are energy. And we hold this form because it is advantageous on this planet to have a form like this. To be an upright bipedal being, 2 arms, 2 legs, upright, brown skin because my people come from Africa, light skin because your people are in, you know, Sweden or somewhere, you need to let more light in, you need lighter skin. We are equipped for the planet that we live on. But we are passing through this human experience where we're having a human body. And this film is showing us that form and shape are temporary and flexible and malleable. 22 herself is going through these different changes. Right now, there's more to her storyline, and you know, and I'll kind of leave that and ask you to put in the comments what you think. And if you got this while you were watching. And if you didn't, to go back and watch it again if you would, if you care to, and then come back and make comments, because I'd like for people to be able to look up and look around, look broader, and not get caught up on, well, why did he have to be incarnated in a cat? I'm almost speechless. What? That's not what the movie is about. One person on social media said, why does he have to be a ghost? Because that's what the movie is about. It's about a soul. He doesn't have a body. So it's been hard for me to listen to people's comments about it when they're fixated on things that are very, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be frustrated because it's very human. We come at things from our own personal point of view when we can't understand, like, well, what is this other thing? What is this other realm? What is it to contemplate life before life? Which is the other thing the movie asks you to contemplate. How do you end up in the body you're in? How do you end up born into the family that you're born into? How do you end up born to the parents you're born to? We choose it. We choose it. I know some people would say, I would never choose. You chose it. Your soul chose it. And this movie is taking us and dropping other ideas into our consciousness, our whole human consciousness, to say, consider life before your physical life and how you got here. Right? And so 22, the character 22, is going through all kind of things that she tries to figure out whether or not she wants to incarnate and how she's going to incarnate. Basically, what kind of flesh is she going to take on? That's what she's trying to figure out. I mean, after she figures out that, okay, I might take on flesh, what kind of flesh might I take on? And so the film is great on a surface level. You know, it's an animated, it's great for kids and all that. It's very entertaining, it's very cute. Felicia Rashad is also in it, her voice is in it. You know, it's just great. But also we're being pushed to contemplate metaphysical ideas and to come to understand how malleable our flesh is. This is not the final form, nor was this the first form. We're spiritual beings having a human experience, and this human body is very fleeting. This is only one experience, and when we transition, we're going to come out of this body and go back into a non-physical space, realm, dimension. And we're going to have another body probably at some point. So when people are criticizing this film, I'm like, wow, you're missing it. But here's where I am inspired and feeling good, is because, as I said, we're entering into the age of Aquarius, and this is the kind of consciousness expanding art we can expect to see going forward, because it makes us contemplate who we really are. And in contemplating that, we go beyond our previous limited thinking and limited understandings, and we get closer to our spiritual evolution, to stepping into the next stage of the evolution, to actually grow into fourth density, to actually grow. But we've got to catch it. We've got to catch it. We're not going to just be thrown into another state of being. We're evolving into the next state of being. You know that expression, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So we are the students who are becoming ready, and the teachers are appearing. Not everybody's going to get it at once. That's fine. Not everybody's going to get it at once, but let's help each other get it. And let's also find some joy in this, not just in this season. Look, we've endured a lot in this last administration, in particular from 2016 to the end of 2020. We've endured a lot. It's been challenging. It's been hard. It has. But can we find some joy? We have to find some joy and some peace and some contentment Otherwise, life will not be worth living at all, because we'll be so caught up in just fighting and being divided that we won't be able to have any joy. And as Black people in particular, we need some joy and some love and some fun also. Don't you want some fun? I mean, here it is, almost New Year's Eve. We can't go out anywhere. So we have to figure out how we're going to lighten up and have some fun. And so this movie represents one way to have some fun. Also, the film, the series on Netflix, Bridgerton. Some people are mad about, why are Black people in this colonizer's palace, and why are we so caught up in the romance of, you know, Regency era Britain. And again, I say, can we just enjoy? Look, we are in the last week of 2020, and it has been rough going. So can we just have some joy? If you're looking for something like, no, I just want something blackly black, okay, maybe a love story like Sophie's Love, from a couple years ago, The Photograph. I guess it might have just been last year. The Photograph. A couple years ago was If Beale Street Could Talk, the movie version of James Baldwin's book, If Beale Street Could Talk. Black people in love. So I'm gonna leave it there. I do want to know your impressions of Soul, and can you get some spiritual teaching in that? And can you make room? I think you can, for Black people in the so-called New Age, because it's not new, and because our people have been participating in all kind of spiritual practices since the beginning of time. They come from us. So let's not throw away black people or Blackness because something is unusual. Okay? So don't forget to hit the notification bell, subscribe if you're new and visiting. If you've stayed this long, thank you. Oh, I just left my earpiece there. Thank you, and that's all for now.